Welcome to the third module review, which is all to do with stakeholders. Apologies, there's been a bit of a delay since the last review of module 2 and module 1, which you can look up on this channel. I have recently got back from holiday, and I also managed to somehow pick up COVID in the process, and it has not been very pleasant at all. Thank goodness for ibuprofen. The headaches were intense, but I feel like it's been approximately sort of 5 days since the symptoms first kicked in, and I think I'm getting over it. So hopefully I can make it at least through this video and talk a little bit about module 3 of the Starting Your Business course. So as mentioned, it's all about stakeholders and stakeholder. Every business has stakeholders. These are not to be confused with shareholders. Even as a sole trader, no employees, simply owner-operator will have stakeholders. And there can be many and varied, including, and this is one thing that I learned as well in this module, is that competitors are actually stakeholders in your business, because how you perform obviously impacts on them as well. If you're a massive success, then you are a threat to them. Obviously, you might be stealing market share from them. Conversely, if you bring out new products or services, or a new way of delivering a service, then that can impact on competitors too, because it quite likely creates expectations in the marketplace, and their customers might be saying, well, there's other businesses providing X type of service, or is doing something extra for free. Why am I still paying for it? This can definitely happen. And I mean, an example of this, and this has happened in my industry, where I design, develop, and manage websites, but for a very long time, customers were being charged for security certificates on their website, even after there was a service introduced that provided for free security certificates, and for for a long time, and it still happens today. Customers are being charged sometimes hundreds of dollars for a security certificate that they could get for free. And so this is just an example. We provide it free as part of our hosting, but a lot of businesses still have to pay for it. So that is an example of how a different way of delivering, or a different price point as well, can impact on others in the same industry. So yeah, anyone from your local city council to your bank manager, to perhaps you might be leasing a property, and of course probably one of the big stakeholders is obviously customers themselves. Customers will have a big influence, and I'd just like to actually share with you, this is something that's, as in terms of like talking about the influence of stakeholders, that is something that's really important to determine, because obviously all stakeholders will have a varying range or sphere of influence on your business, and that's what this module 3, after describing the internal stakeholders. So internal would be like your employees, if you have them. External stakeholders are ones outside the business. So as mentioned, could be a competitor, it could be your power supply company, or some other service provider. Now, stakeholder influence is obviously key in terms of determining how you will engage with that stakeholder. So that's probably one of the key takeaways from this module, is that not just that you have stakeholders, you probably already realize that, but really determining the influence and the impact of the stakeholder on your business. And so you might draw up a bit of a list you might have like a matrix of the stakeholders for your business, and or you might you might plot them on a quadrant like this here, as you can see in this example, where you can see those that at least from meeting their needs, and the key players, the show consideration least important. And this is all to do with the interest of the stakeholders, how interested they are in your business, as well as the influence or the power they have over your business. So all of those things are important and need to be taken into account. So by doing that, then you can have a better idea as to how you'll deal with those stakeholders across the business. So firstly, write them up. Who are they? Are they internal or external? And then secondly, look at how much influence do they have over your business, and how interested are they in your business. And obviously, the more they are up and to the right in terms of that quadrant that we looked at, then that will determine how you engage with them. And there's a whole section there on engaging with stakeholders, from the benefits obviously of doing so, and how you will do it. And that comes down a lot to communication styles, as well as what information that you will release and what information you will keep private. So you'll need to think about that as well. And then obviously maintaining those stakeholder relationships. So this is something that would need to be done on an ongoing basis. So it would be, for example, you're looking at customers, you want to maintain that stakeholder relationship and maintain it in a good way. In which case, what you might do, and this is quite common, is that you might send out sort of regular customer surveys where you get feedback from customers, and you can use that information to shape your business and make changes as needed. So it's a relatively short module, and it might be dealing with something that for many of you is pretty standard, and you might not have thought too much about it, but it is obviously very important. And it's really important to make sure that not only you identify the important stakeholders, but that you engage with them in a meaningful and constructive way.